Good afternoon. This is Paul Quarter from Perfect Golf Event, and I want to appreciate you all coming to our session today and being on time. So we're going to get started on time. Uh, what I'm going to do, just a couple housekeeping notes. First of all, we go pretty quickly. I know you're all busy, but hopefully it's a good topic for you. We do record it, and also I'll be glad to send you a complete copy of the presentation afterwards. So you can just sit back, kind of relax, and then we'll walk through all the subject matter. Again, we cover a lot of stuff. With Paul Corral, Perfect Golf Event. I've been doing events now for about 16 years. I manage personally about 7 events each year, and besides being chief operating officer of Perfect Golf Event. And we try and do these educational sessions because we want you to have a more successful event. So this isn't an infomercial. It's going to talk about the things we use and that I've experienced in terms of having a very successful golf event. So some things will apply to you. Some of them you might not need just yet, but hopefully there'll be a good overview for you. So again, thank you. And if you have any questions, just put them in the question panel and I'll look at those at the end of the session. If you're organizing a charity golf event, when people call me and they say, hey, Paul, I've been selected to run the charity golf event this year, I always say to them 2 things. First of all, congratulations. And second of all, condolences, because I don't think unless you've run a charity golf event, can you really understand what you have to do to make it successful. I'm just outlining here just some of the things that you have to be involved with in terms of successfully having an event. So whether it's organizing your committee, you're setting up your sponsorships or your website, or you're doing your marketing campaign, whatever it is, there are so many different things that go into running a successful event. And again, unless you've done it, you really don't appreciate the effort that goes in. It can be very rewarding when it's successful, but it's also a big challenge. So hopefully we'll cover some of that today as we go through the session. And I'm going to remind people who sign on late that we record the sessions, and we also we'll send you a copy of the presentation afterwards if you request it. So one of the things that's important is to make sure, no matter when your event is, that you've started already. Again, I manage a number of events. And all of my 2025 events, I have the websites up in September of last year because you've got to get an early start. There's about 300,000 charity golf events. So the sooner you launch your event, the sooner players and sponsors can block that. And again, you're competing with other events, you're competing with vacations and other things going on. So you really need to get out there with your event. So hopefully you've already got your website up and running. Hopefully you use a Perfect Golf Event. If not, you can go ahead and set a website up and it can be live literally in a couple of hours. But you want to make sure you've got your event up and going. And we're going to talk in this presentation on the best ways to market your event. But first of all, you got to make sure you've got everything ready to go. You want to make sure, and this is really important, I look at a lot of websites that are set up for charity golf events, make sure you've clarified your message. Make sure when somebody comes to your event, they know why you're raising the money. Don't make it confusing or lengthy. This is an event that I manage where we do it for the backstoppers. Basically we raise money now for the survivors from first responders who've been injured or killed in the line of duty. That's a pretty strong message. It's very clear. And that's what we tell people. That's why we're raising money. So it's important to clarify your message. It should be on the home page of your website. Hey, we're having this charity golf event and the funds are going to be used to do this. So make sure you've done that so the sponsors and everybody understand where the money is going to go. You want to create a brand. So even if you're a small event, it's important that you have an event logo, that you have colors that you use consistently. This event you're looking at here, this will be in February of this year. This will be our 10th year. But every year we've used the same colors, the same logo, and it helps, there's continuity to it. So the sponsors and players go, yeah, I recognize that event. I'm coming back again next year. So try and work together. If you need some help with the logo, let us know. And then you can have a tagline. Like this event is a big shootout where we have 18 par 3 holes and $1 million shootout. And so, we say, hey, come in and you can tee off to win $1 million. What I don't want to see in your logo or your tagline is any dates. I don't want it to say first annual, second annual, whatever, because then you have to change the logo every year. I mean, I had somebody call me yesterday and said, Paul, we're going to be having our first annual golf classic. Well, I kind of explained to them that you can't be first and be a classic at the same time. You've got to make your decision. Either you're a classic or it's your first time. But I don't ever use first time because nobody wants to play in the first event of anything. They're going to let you get it together for a couple of years. So come up with a good tagline that kind of ties into what you're doing. Keep it short, keep it sweet. So have a message, get some branding in place for your event. Then you want to gather all your resources. It's important that you have a really strong committee, that you select a golf course. I'll talk about that in a minute. Select a golf course that's attractive and has run events before. We'll talk about identifying supporters, building your database. Excuse me, go back. So we'll talk about that. Yeah, we'll talk about database now. So one of the most important things is you can't have an event that is going to be successful unless you have a database. And you can't just say, well, we're just going to go out to the general public and advertise this event. That's not going to work. So make sure you've got a source for where's your database going to come from for potential sponsors and players. So it could be past supporters of your organization. Maybe you've had a golf event in the past. You make sure you keep all those lists. Your committee members, very important. I'll talk about committees in a minute, but they're probably one of the most important parts for getting, especially sponsors. Your staff, your vendors, anybody you write a check to. I'll talk about a referral program in a minute, but there's lots of different ways to build the database, but it's really important that you're doing that. Now, the golf course will have a database of players but they're not going to share that database with you. That's too valuable. But what they might do is an email blast for you. So they might go out to their database and say, hey, we're hosting a tournament in June for this organization, and you can sign up using this website. So don't miss that opportunity. Don't expect them to give you a list, but you can ask them to certainly communicate your event to their database. And we'll talk about community directories. And sometimes you just go in, and I do it sometimes on a Sunday watching football. I'll just do some internet research. I'll just look up new businesses, and I'm actually in St. Louis, Missouri. So I might say, hey, give me some new businesses in St. Louis, Missouri. And I look at new business launches, and I put them on my database and add them to my list of people that we're going to contact. So there is no magic formula for building a database. It's continual, but you've got to tap into your supporters, your committee members, everybody's involved in your organization to say, hey, keep sending me names, people we can add to the database. And then I make sure I track everything. I'll go back. I say I track everything on the forums so I can review it with my committee, like who we got coming in, who's a potential sponsor, a potential team, which committee members are following up on it. And by the way, all the things, the handouts that I'm talking about here today, you can download them if you go to Perfect Golf Event and you click on the resources tab. In that tab, there's a link to webinar handouts. So everything I'm talking about, you'll see the marketing calendar a bit. You can download those all off of Perfect Golf Event. All right, so let's talk about setting your goals before we get into some other things. Make sure you've got your financial projections together. This is what I use. So I take, since I've had events in the past, I plug in all my 2024 numbers, and then I put in my goals for 2025. If you haven't had an event before, at least you can put your goals in. And I'm very specific on that. I want to know if I had a putting contest, what did I make last year, and what was my revenue this year, or my goal, so I can set a target for what I'm trying to accomplish. So the first part of the spreadsheet is putting in my results and my goals and revenue. Then the second tab, and again, you can download the spreadsheet on Perfect Golf Event Resources, is, okay, what are my past expenses, and what's my expenses going to be in 2025? And then when you're done, you've got your net number. And if your revenue doesn't equal what you want to raise, then you've got to go back up and you've got to take a look and say, hey, here's some areas where we can improve our revenue, or here's some areas where we can reduce expenses. And that's really important. You've got to have a number in mind. Hopefully you succeed it, but you can't just say, I just want to raise. The thing I hate the most is when somebody said, I ask them, how much do you want to raise? And they say, well, I want to raise as much as I can. Well, that doesn't do it. I need a specific number. Then we can work backwards to what are your revenues, what's your sponsorship packages, what do you got to charge, what's your expenses from the golf course. You've got to treat it as a scientific tracking of what's going to happen. Make sure you requested our golf course checklist. Again, it's up under the resource tab. Um, One of the big mistakes that people make is they sign a contract with the golf course and they really haven't gotten everything covered that they should be asking them. So we've got on here all the things you should be asking the golf course. And then it also lists the things the golf course may ask you. So even if you've already signed your contract for the golf course, go back and look at this list and say, hey, wait a second, I forgot to ask the golf course. The number one is a rain date. What's my rain date? And what's their rain date policy? For example, a lot of golf courses, if you play 6 or 7 holes, they'll give you a whole new event, so they won't count it. But if you play 9 holes and it starts raining, they're going to tell you that that counts as an event. Well, you better let your players know that. So that's where people miss when they sign their contracts. They just go, oh, well, I guess I got to sign this contract. It's a standard contract. But there's lots of things that you could ask the golf course. So even if you've already signed your contract, go down this checklist and take a look at it. Go back. Get somebody on your committee who's really aggressive in terms of details and go through the contract and go back to the golf course and say, hey, we forgot to ask you this. Once you got your date confirmed, again, launch your website. Make sure your website's up and running. Again, all my websites for my events are up. This is one coming up in September. And you want to have your website up there once you've got your date, your organization. I'll talk about sponsorship packages and player packages and format in a minute. So set up your website so everybody knows what's going on. Hopefully you're using Perfect Golf Event, but even if you're not, just make sure you've got a website up. Everybody wants to register and pay online. So make sure. Nobody wants to do paper forms. Nobody wants to put their credit card information on a form and fax it to you. I mean, my son's, I don't even think he knows what a fax machine is. But so everybody wants to be ready to do things online. So make sure you've got a website set up. Again, you can use Perfect Golf Event, but again, whoever you're going to use, go down the checklist and make sure that you've got all the features that you need so people can securely register on your website and you can get the revenue direct. All right, now we're getting into it. First of all, you've got to have a good committee. Take the opportunity to add new members. If you had a committee last year, this is a year when you want to be adding new people. Maybe somebody played in your event last year and they said, hey, that was really fun. I want to play in the event. I want to help you. Good. Why don't you join my committee? Past participants are good candidates. And sometimes I have some of my committee members where I have them retire because they've kind of either burned out or they waste my time trying to talk about things at my committee meetings that aren't really going to help me get to the bottom line. The key is you've got to keep your committee members focused on teams and sponsors. Can't tell you how many times I've gone into a committee meeting and they're talking about the hors d'oeuvres. What are we going to charge? What are we going to have for lunch? And I was like, stop. We can deal with that later on. Let's worry about, hey, when's our team's going to come from? Where are we going to get our sponsors? Again, I put together a list of my best tips for the committee meetings that I run. Again, I do a lot more, I do a lot more online meetings now because people are used to Zoom. We don't have to drive across town. We don't have to get into a room. So, I'll throw in a live meeting to launch. We'll do a couple Zoom meetings. Maybe we'll have another live meeting just to keep everybody energized. But you don't want to waste your committee members' time. You want to have them focus completely on getting out there, identifying teams and sponsors. All right, you want to put together your player packages. We'll talk about sponsor packages in a second. So you want to go out now and say, hey, why do people want to play in my event? Well, why you're asking them for financial support, you're asking them for time away from their family and time away from their business. So you better give them something for that. So what I look at is what are some of the fun things we can do in terms of formats, contests, and activities to attract people. So first of all, you want to talk about your format. You might want to look at some different kind of formats. I mean, I would say 99, we do thousands of events. 99.5% of the events are the same format. They're a 4-person scramble. We'll have a box lunch and award ceremony. And they usually take 5 to 6 hours, and they're so long and boring that people don't come back. So you may want to take a look at different formats. Like this is one I'm doing for another charity where we're doing par 3 challenge. We're making all par 3 holes. Again, you don't want to have the same format, something different. Make your event different. Again, because there's 300,000 charity golf events, and the good advantage is you can do it in a safe environment, but what's going to make your event attractive? Here's a couple examples. This is Folds of Honor. Folds of Honor has done this event. I think they're going into their 6th year. They wanted to come in with a new event, so they switched the event and said, you know what? We're going to do all par 3 holes. So basically, they take the golf course, they move the tee boxes up, they have 18 hole-in-one contests. They're done in 3.5 hours. They have a shootout for 500,000, and it's been sold out the past 2 years. It's actually been sold out since they started. After the first year, they sold out. But the good news is they're done in 3.5 hours, and people say, that's great. I can go to the office in the morning, I can come in and play in the event. I'm not out there for 5 or 6 hours dragging around, and it's really a lot of fun. And you can have sponsors pay for the hole-in-one contest. So there's lots of things that you can do that can make your format different, than just standards. Again, the standard 4-person scramble box lunch award ceremony. Now, I'm not going to read these to you because I'll be glad to send you this presentation, but these are the different formats that we recommend you look at. You can do 9 holes and then have a shootout at the end. You can do 9 regulation holes and 9 par 3 holes. Or you can do 9 par 3 holes and 18 par 3 holes. Or another format that came up last year, and I have 3 events doing this event. They're having a regular golf event starting in the morning. You're going to play 18 holes because some people want to play the full course. Then in the afternoon, we have a 9-hole tournament for casual golfers who want to just play 9 par 3 holes. We get done in about 1 hour and 45 minutes. And then everybody's invited back for the awards reception. So be creative. And again, any of our internal, my golf event coaches inside can coach you on formats. But try and be different than, again, straight 4-person scramble, box lunch, award ceremony. Again, the example of the one we're doing with the backstoppers. The other thing you want to look at is what are your other event day highlights? So this is another event that I run for the backstoppers. And you can see our event September 2025. But look what we offer for this event. Okay, before the event, lunch and buffet, putting contest, and I have a drone coming in, and we're doing a drone drop for a $2,000 cash prize. On the event, I've got hole-in-one contest for trips to the Masters. I got a Pebble Beach trip. I've got a Kia. I've got a TrackMan long drive contest. I've got beer stations. I've got liquor sampling. I bring a taco truck out. I've got cigars. And then afterwards, we have a big reception. We have a shootout for $1 million with somebody winning $1,000. Now, this is a pretty high-end event, but we can customize any events with this similar kind of format to fit your budget. But if somebody has a choice in St. Louis to play an event on September 26th, do you think they're going to go play the 4-person scramble with the box lunch, or are they going to come out to this event and say, wait a second, look at all the fun stuff going on here. If I'm taking time away from my family, I really want to make sure that I'm going to be there at that event. So you need to look at what are your event date highlights. So get with your committee and say, what can we add? Again, we can tell you things you can add. We have a 24-page book on fundraising activities, ebook, that'll give you a bunch of ideas that'll fit your budget. You don't have to go high end. You can do it within a certain budget, but at least be a little different. You can offer different contests. Like this one I just did for a big event in the fall. We had a putting contest to go to the TPC Sawgrass. You can have hole-in-one contests, shootouts, putting contests, long drive. And again, the good news is, if you're not as experienced, is that the sponsors will cover the cost of these. So you have hole-in-one contest, the sponsor pays for it, players get a chance to win a prize, and you make money off the sponsorship and you attract players to your event. Again, one of the things I really want you to think about doing, and here's an event that I just did for the Philadelphia Orchestra, is put things on a super ticket. One of the things I really don't like when I go to an event is what I call the buffet line. So the person shows up and you got registration. Okay, that's fine, I register. And then you go to another table and you got the putting contest. And then you go to another table and there's a raffle. Okay, then there's another ticket, maybe something else you're going to sell. Put everything into one ticket. For this event, we had a putting contest, and a drone drop. So for $100, they got into the putting contest. They got 2 mulligans. They got a drone drop. They didn't have to go to 3 different tables to get their mulligans, drone drop, and putting contest. And we sold out. If they wanted extra putts, we sold them to them. But now registration was smooth. Everything really went well. Again, if you're really late coming in, I'll get you a copy of the presentation. If you have any questions, I'll look at those as we go through. Okay. Hole-in-one contest. You can do hole-in-one contests, and we can insure anything that you want. Anything we can put a value on, we can do it. Last year I did a Lamborghini for $225,000, or we could do, ski vacation, a Vail, or something that really appeals to your group locally. Use your imagination. Here's one at Golf Safari South Africa. One of our new ones we put in, it's really popular, especially for schools and booster clubs, is a split the charity. So the 10,000, if somebody wins, it's 20,000, 10,000 goes to the winner, 10,000 goes to charity. That probably is our most important, popular new addition last year. So you can be creative, and if you have some custom ideas, let us know. We can insure anything that we can put a value on. For example, this is what I really like. If you want to do something locally, like Philadelphia event said, we want something for Philadelphia. So we did a hole-in-one contest that had to do with the Eagles and the 76ers. In St. Louis, we did one for the Cardinals, and we can do anything to your market. So I just did one in Texas, and the hole-in-one contest, the winner got to go to a away football game for any Texas university, including Texas A&M, Texas Tech, University of Texas, Houston, SMU, whatever. And so that was really popular. And guess what? It was different than any other hole-in-one contest that other events were offering. And so people go, wow, I've never seen that before. I want to go play in that event. Again, if you want our idea generator, I've got 24 pages of different contests and ideas. You won't be able to incorporate them all into your event, but at least it'll help you. You'll be able to see that. All right, let's talk about, before I get to sponsorships, let's talk about filling the field. Okay, a couple things I do for my event you might want to consider. I do concierge groups. I'm very limited to 4 groups. But let's say for my event that I'm charging, $500 a player. So the foursome, again, would be $2,000. Well, what I do is for this one, I'll charge $4,000 and I'll call it a VIP group. But I only do 4 of them, and I sell it out for every event. And what I just say is, look, we're going to give you special parking, seating, some shirts. We're going to have somebody beverages for you, and I have somebody assigned to your carts. So if you need someone to go get you a Bloody Mary or special drinks that's not on the carts, or cigars or meals or whatever, you've got VIPs. And I'll tell you why this works. A lot of people that come to an event are bringing their clients. Now, how cool is it to be able to bring your client and say, oh, hey, Jack and Susan, thanks for playing. And today I've got you, and we're actually going to have a VIP service. And that's why it sells out so fast. So I'm always looking for ways to drop money to your bottom line. One of the things most events miss is having a women's division. Women golfers are actually great supporters, not only of golf, but of nonprofits. And I learned this lesson about 6 years ago for an event where I had an event and there were women playing in it. And they felt like, hey, Paul, you didn't have an area where women felt playing and we could compete. So my events now, I have prizes for women, prizes for men's teams. And it's really helped me grow my events because the women say, hey, I can compete against other women teams and I'll bring some more friends in. They get ladies golf leagues involved. So don't miss that opportunity. Make sure that if you've had an event before, that you've got everybody that you had before, that you've got emails out to them, save the date. Sometimes I'll do, and I'll talk about early bird specials in a minute, but I will tell people, hey, it's important to let people know, hey, you want to sign up by a certain date, then sign up now, because when I go out to my players, I say, hey, you played in the event last year and you have until January 31st to sign up, and then I'm going to open it up to the public. And remember, we sold out last year, so if you want your spot, tell me now before I fill it with somebody else. That's so effective, and having people go ahead and register early. So make sure you got it out to your prior players if you've had an event in the past. If you had an event last year and you used our website, make sure you've got our perfect photo gallery linked, because this is a great tool. What you do is you can load up all your photos from last year's event, and they set up on a web. It's a tool we call Perfect Photo Gallery, and then you can have it as sponsor could be on there, but all the people can you can email a link out and say, hey, if you want to see the photos from last year, just go to this link. But what I do is I put that on there on my 2025 event, so that I say, if you want to see it, go to the 2025 event. I've got the photos from last year there. So if you're interested in Perfect Photo Gallery, it's free for my Birdie, Eagle, and Ace Packets customers. It's just a great way to get your pictures up there, and people can actually download the photos. And if they want to make a donation, they can donate when they download the photos. All right, this is probably one of the more important topics. I'm doing a whole webinar on this tomorrow, but I'll give you a couple highlights today. Make sure you've got your sponsor packages. So you want to create sponsor packages that sell. So you make sure you're offering lots of sponsorships. I look at a lot of websites and I see a title sponsor. I might see a whole sponsor. They might have a long drive. Have lots of sponsors. You might not sell them all, but you got to give people the opportunity to find something that fits their business's budget. And you got to have sizzle. What are you going to give them in your sponsor? What are they going to get pre-event? What are they going to get at the event? What are they going to get after the event? Nobody wants to give you a bunch of money if they're not going to get some recognition for it. So it's important that you do that. And again, don't worry about copying all this down. I'm going to send you a copy of the presentation. Okay, here's an example of some sponsorship packages. And I want to talk about sizzle. Here's like title sponsor. And you can download our sample sponsorship packages, and you can fit the pricing to fit what you want. But let's say you've got a title sponsor for $25,000. You can give them things like parking, seating, tee off on hole number 1, front cover of the program, listing in the press release, featured in email marketing. And guess what? They don't cost you anything. And yet the title sponsor now says, wow, I get a lot from my sponsorships. I can't tell you how many websites I look at where they've got a sponsorship and a title sponsor, and they're offering them, their logo on the website and a banner at the check-in. I mean, wow, how fast can I write you a check? You got to really bundle this stuff together. As I said, you can download my sample sponsorship packages and fit the pricing to what you want for your event. And here's an example. I'm running a big event, and this one's probably a little bit of overkill, but I'm running a major event here in St. Louis in June, for a women's pro tournament, but it's for a charity. We're raising money, and you can see, look at the sponsorship packages that I put together just for this event. I mean, there's 3 pages of them, and look what the title sponsor gets. Look, so I think if you look at your packages, you're going to say, you know what, we probably need to add a little more sizzle. And again, some of the sizzle can be free. Reserved parking, teeing off on hole number 1, reserved seating. Those are benefits you can give them that don't cost you anything. Remember, if you're doing Perfect Golf Event, you can get their logos up on the website, and it can be live links right out to their website. I use this is important. You can use email for it and social media, but I actually do use sponsor letters. So I do send a lot of letters out. I'll send it out with my brochure because I don't think people get enough letters and packets. So I'll put together a letter and I'll have the brochure with it, and I mail it out to potential sponsors. And I get a good response because it's something in their hands. It doesn't get caught in their spam email. And so you might not mail out 500 of them, but I usually try and get, 25 to 50 target sponsors that will do a letter along with the brochure. I'll get those names and addresses from my committee members, and I'll do a solicitation letter. Don't be lazy. Think of different ways to go out and promote your event. For some of my events, I create a YouTube channel, and I'll have videos about the event, why we're raising money, something about the charity, what kind of event day activities are out there. But what's really cool is one of my sponsor sizzles is I'll let them give me a video that we can post on the YouTube channel. So if it's a restaurant, they've got a 30 to 60-second feature about, hey, come out to our restaurant. We got great food, or an architectural firm has services, or a medical practice, whatever it is. I'm always adding new sizzle to my packages so my sponsorship packages stand out. One of the things I started doing last year was I allowed some of my sponsors to set up booths at the event. Well, what a great thing for a local business. You know, if they're a deli, a wine shop, whatever it's going to be, come on out. Golfers show up. They're wandering around looking for something to do before they tee off. So they'll come out and I let them sponsors, and they have to be a significant sponsor. You can't just be a whole sponsor. But if you're a good sponsor, you can set a table up. I've had great barbecue people putting barbecue samples out there, wine and cheese shops. I've had massage shops, I've had yoga shops doing demonstrations. So again, broaden your horizons of what you're offering your sponsors so it's really attractive. And then make sure that you've got everything on a list, as I mentioned before, so people are following up on, hey, this is a potential sponsor. Here's what I think they could do. And again, there's more in my sponsorship session tomorrow, but this is just an overall view. Last section we're going to go into, again, I know I go quickly, but I know your time is valuable. And again, I recorded and you can have a copy of the presentation. Let's talk about marketing. First of all my events, I have a marketing calendar. So I put together a sample marketing, I put a calendar together that shows all the activities we're going to be doing going up to the event. So I take a look at it and I say, hey, what are we doing in April, May, June, depending on when your event date is. And I share this with the committee and say, hey, it looks like we're not doing anything in May. What are we going to do in May to promote the event? You've got to be constantly promoting your event. You can download this calendar on Perfect Golf Event under the resources tab. So you've got it for your group. You can always also use it to track all of your activities. I've got a tab up top where you can plug it in, how we doing in terms of my goal versus my actual. And what I do is on Monday mornings, I send this out to my committee members to say, hey, here's where we stand. Let's keep moving. You got to keep people informed without burdening them with a lot of stuff. If you want to take a look, along with my golf course checklist, my committee checklist, I've got a marketing checklist, and you can download again on Perfect Golf Event under the webinar handouts. It gives you your tips that I use for marketing my events. Save the date postcards work, so you can do that if you I like postcards mainly because you can do them. People again, they just don't get your emails aren't always going to get through because of spam. So like here's a postcard I'm doing for my big event June, and this is the front front of the postcard. Here's the back of the postcard. I have my committee members. We get some lists, but also I'll bring the committee in. I'll give each one of them 25 postcards, and I'll say, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go home and write down the addresses on 25 people you know, and then give me back the postcards, and then we'll mail them for you. And I'll tell you what, we've got great response on doing postcards because they stand out versus, again, email that gets maybe caught up in spam. Make sure you've got professional marketing materials. This is the brochure I do for my big event down at Boca Grande. Again, I think it's going to be our 10th year. But we've got a nice 4-pager that we use. And the nice part about it is, we drive everybody to the website. Go to islandschoolgolfshootout.com, go to the website, and then that way I got people going there to register. But having a brochure, you can send it out as a PDF where you can put it in with your solicitation letter. You can print some copies for your committee member. You can leave it at the golf course. So have some professional, if you need samples of it, and we do brochures for people. If they ask, we charge for it. But if you need help, just contact our support team. Make sure you put a QR code on all of your materials with a direct link to your website. Everybody's getting used to QR codes now. So make sure you've got QR codes and you're using those. Last couple sections here, power social media. Make sure you've got social media images. And remember, if you're using Twitter, whatever they call it, X now, Facebook, and Instagram, that they require different sizes for social media. And our team for our Birdie, Eagle, and Ace packages will design the social media images for you, and we'll size them properly. And then you send those social media images out back to your committee members and say, please go post this on yours. You want everybody who has social media to post on their sites. So you've got this ripple effect of, hey, it's on my company website, my organization website, but all my supporters, all my committee members are putting it out there too. You want, excuse me, I give them a template that says, hey, here's how I want you to do this. I want you to promote some emails out. And what I tell people is you want to send some emails out, and maybe the first email talks about the event, the second one's why we're raising money, the third one promotes our contest. So there's some things you can do to give their committee members and support some direction. Don't just count on them to do the promotion without getting some direction from you. I really promote LinkedIn. If you're not using LinkedIn, that's a mistake. LinkedIn is the most powerful business to business one. So I ask my people, if you're playing in my golf event, please go in and post on LinkedIn that you're playing this event, put a link to the website. Some people will want to see the event. Some people may want to connect with you, and they may want to see how to do business with you. So if they see it on your LinkedIn profile, they'll say, hey, I've always been trying to do business with Joan or Steve, and I see they're going to be at this event. I'm going to go play in this event. I'm going to track them down and start work with them on working with my company. LinkedIn is a really underutilized one. So please encourage people to post your event on LinkedIn. If you do this, you'll be in the top 1% of all the events out there, but I put a media kit together for my events. I'll have an intro letter, a brochure. I might have a fact sheet about the organization, who the contact people are. Now, the reason I have a media kit is not because the media is going to cover my event. And they only cover your event if you have some really interesting story to cover. But the media kit is a great sales tool. I've gone into so many presentations with sponsors, and I have my media kit, and I say, thanks for seeing me. I talk a little bit about our event coming up in September. And by the way, here's our media kit. And they go to me, you have a media kit? What kind of event is this? I said, it's a serious event. And we treat the event seriously. We're going to treat your sponsor dollar seriously. We're going to put you in the press release if you sign on. But they go, this looks like an event that's being run professionally, and they feel comfortable giving you money. Don't have a slipshod, or make sure everything looks professional. You're asking people to give you money, and they've got to trust that you know what you're doing. I tell you what, a media kit just puts you right at the top of the list. I do trade out sponsorships. So right now, you couldn't do billboards before because they had to paste those big things up. But now there's digital billboards. So I go to local billboard companies, radio stations, newspapers, and I'll trade them a sponsorship in addition to in exchange for getting some recognition. I love being rotated on a billboard. Sponsors love it, players love it. So be creative in how you promote your event. Last section here is early bird special. You want to go out and get people early. So I go out to people and say, please register now, and I don't necessarily like discounts. I'll do it sometimes, like save so much if you register by January 31st. But sometimes I'll do add-ons. So for one of my big events I've got coming up, everybody who registered by the end of January is going to get a free polo shirt. And we're going to give them the polo shirt at the event. So you can do things that are add-ons. Give them extra raffle tickets, entry into the putting contest. I'll show you one in just a second that I just came up with. And again, with Perfect Golf Event, there's promo codes you can add that will help you collect the information on who's in the early bird. Here's what I'm doing for early access. So for one of my events, we're playing at this country club called Whitmore. Nice country club, 36 holes, lots of members. And I want them to play in the event. And so I went out to them and I had an early bird offer. It just said, you're going to get some special features, free entry in the putting contest. You're going to be listed in the event program. And we're going to give them a money clip, customized. And when they show the money clip, they get free wine or beer or soda during the event. So this is the kind of creative stuff that I'm always thinking about to get people engaged. Okay. So you've got to do the same thing to move your event from raising 10,000 or 15 to 20,000 to get into the right kind of levels of what you're trying to raise. Referral programs are important. We call everybody who registers for my event and ask them for referrals. I'm going to guarantee you don't call people. If you want to be in the top 1%, call people, thank them and say, hey, I saw you registered. Thanks a lot. Do you know anybody else who might be registered? They'll be stunned that you call them. And then I get a lot of referrals from people saying, these people called me and I think you should come out and join me for the event. I'm going to go quick here to the end because I know we'll run out of time. So again, you want to make sure you got your email campaign outlined and engage with your players. If you want, you can add an online auction. We have an auction site, Perfect Silent Auction. It's a great thing to add to your website. You can raise more money. You can put a link to it on your website. I did an auction in October, and the event itself raised about 180,000, but we did another 56,000 with the online auction. So auctions are a nice way to keep engaged with people. And again, with Perfect Silent Auction, you can link our auction site to your golf event website so people can see it. All right, action steps. I'll see if there's any questions. Confirm your location, identify your committee, complete your financial projections, finalize your format, set up your website, implement your marketing plan. Okay, so a couple questions here. Some people asking about, I have 31 of the same golf tournament for 250 players. That's a good question. I've done that. I have it on 2 different courses. So again, or you could do an AM PM. So you can have a morning round and an afternoon round. We do that with Folds of Honor because they've sold out now. So we play an AM round, and since it's only 3.5 hours, they can play the AM round and then the PM round. So either sometimes I'll spread it over 2 courses. Maybe I find a course that has 36 holes, or I'll do a morning or afternoon. People ask me about, somebody's asking about the drone drop. What I do with the drone drop is, this has really been a lot of fun. I hire a local company that brings drone in. I have 3 drone companies I work with, one in the Midwest, one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast. What we do is we sell numbered golf balls. And so when people come up, they buy a golf ball from anywhere from $25 to $50, and it's got a number on it. Then we load them all onto the drone, and then either right after golf or right before you tee off, usually it's after golf, the drone takes all the numbered golf balls, flies up, and then drops the golf balls to a pin that will be located, and the ball that's closest to it wins the prize. And again, the drone companies use foam golf balls so it doesn't damage the green. I do it for, again, I've added drones to all my events. I used to do helicopter drops, but they were a pain, they were expensive and hard to schedule. If you download if you go to, if you send me a note, I'll send you my guide, the 24 pager on how to raise more money activities. I've got drone drop explanations in there as well. And I have it featured on some of my events. So it's a good way to raise money, and people will talk about it. They'll go, I was at this event, they had a drone drop, so it was wonderful. All right, so again, thank you very much for coming. If there's anything else we could do, email me. It's Paul at Perfect Golf Event. And send me a note if you want a copy of the presentation. And again, thank you so much. And I hope that you have a great, successful event and that you'll join me for some future events. Thanks very much.